I then began singing the popular song loudly. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper that you love me too.
You seem to be as bad at singing as you are at gambling, Celia said with a shudder.
Alas, that is my true singing voice, I confessed. But after last night and today, I've lost enough that I've firmly established my card-playing incompetence, and so tonight the inexplicable winning streak starts. I walked behind her and watched for a moment as she adjusted a bit of face powder. She glanced up at me questioningly in the mirror. I think I prefer you as a redhead, I said. I also miss the Cockney accent.
Cool, but it took me ever so long to talk good and proper, Gov, she said, laying it on thick. Also, that red wig itched dreadfully. I again tested the heft of the watch. Miss Lilith must be devoted to young Phil. She spent a pretty sum on this. Is he heartbroken over the loss? Celia shrugged. He's just a boy. I doubt his affections run very deep. Turning around, she said, By the way, don't think I haven't noticed that you've yet to return my bracelet, husband dear, nor have you given me half the spoils you lifted from Mr. Moore. I went over to the bureau and fished the delicate piece out of a drawer. I tossed it across the room, and Celia caught it without the slightest effort. You've a remarkably steady hand, darling, I said. I've been impressed by it ever since you pulled a gun on me. I've still got that gun, she remarked, so watch yourself. Sitting in the chair, I pulled off my shoes. I have to admit I've had my doubts about this scheme, I told her. Posing as swells to rob the other swells aboard the world's greatest ship. And yet it's working wonderfully. Just mind you keep that bracelet out of sight. It's our best defense against suspicion. She reached under the bed and pulled out one of her great hat boxes. She parted the silken interior lining and slipped the bracelet inside. Without looking at me, she asked, Why are you staring at me? I laughed at her uncanny perception. I'm still trying to figure you out. I've so many questions. Why the elaborate disguise and accent that night? Why did you choose me as your accomplice? Why hasn't such an extraordinarily beautiful woman been snapped up by some rich bloke by now? I haven't asked many questions of you, Celia volleyed back, such as why adopt the Bjornstrom's name? And what were you really doing in that part of town the other night? An area, I might add, where a woman was murdered. I sat up straight as a board. Do you suspect me? She paused for a beat and then shrugged. I don't see how you would have had the time. I'd rather you thought it wasn't in my character, but I'll take what I can get, I said. It amuses me to speculate on your character. I have two theories on your mysterious identity. One, you're an exotic spy pursued by Scotland Yard because you've made off with top-secret documents from Parliament. Two, you're a member of the royal family, and frustrated with your life of privilege and the tedious duties of your rank, you've opted for the glamour of a life of crime. You've read too many dime novels, she said, smiling despite herself. Darling, I may be a thief, I admitted, but I make it a point to steal only from the best. Those plots come from the classics of literature, or the Nickelodeon. I can never quite remember which. Celia pulled down the bed quilt and cast off her light robe. I need to rest up a bit before I face another dinner with those awful busybodies, she said with a sigh. Celia turned down the lamp on the nightstand and climbed under the covers. I waited for a moment and then removed the last of my clothing and slowly approached the bed. I lifted the heavy satin quilt and eased my naked body down onto the cool sheets. A foot roughly shoved me onto the floor. Say now, I protested. You can't expect me to spend the entire voyage sleeping on that torture rack of a couch. Why, a child could barely fit on it. Without turning, Celia spoke in her coolest, most even tones.